We are here today to interview Mr. Taggett, who's been teaching here for over 30 years and is our in-house expert on anything astronomy related. So the first question, can you tell us what exactly is happening Monday?
Yeah, so on Monday, the sun is going to shine. And of course, this is the Earth. We live on the Earth. And very simply, what's going to happen is that the moon is going to move between us and the sun, and it's going to cast a shadow on the Earth. So wherever that shadow is, that's where you're going to see the eclipse. You're going to be in the shadow. Okay. Now, there's an amazing coincidence about this, and that is the sun is really big, all right, and the moon is a lot smaller. But the moon is about 250,000 miles away from the Earth, and the sun is about 93 million miles away. All right, so it's 400 times further away than the moon is. But the sun is a lot bigger, and the moon is a lot smaller. So the amazing coincidence is that to us, the size, the apparent size of the moon is almost exactly the same size as the sun. So when this happens, the moon is going to fit perfectly in front of the sun, and it'll be a perfect total solar eclipse. So that's a pretty amazing coincidence.
How often do we see stuff like this?
So, of course, the eclipse only happens when the moon happens to be in between the Earth and the sun. But it's pretty often, if you're looking for eclipses around the Earth, it happens every year or two or three. And there are people that chase eclipses. They travel around the Earth and they make it a vacation and they have a good time and they follow eclipses. So it's pretty common from the global perspective. But if you're living in one spot in northern Maine, it might happen every 18 to 20 years.
There's concerns that the town of Madawaska is not in the path of totality, so what will we see exactly just in this town?
Yep, so of course, again, it has to do with that shadow. So if you're in the shadow, you're going to see an eclipse. There's actually two parts of the shadow. There's going to be a darker center to this where you're going to see a total eclipse. And that's a pretty narrow region that's going to go across Maine. We're very close to that, and we're going to see, we won't be able to know the difference between the total, between 100% or 99%. We're going to see a perfect total eclipse. If you're out, maybe in the Midwest, that far out, you're still going to see a partial eclipse. You'll see the moon partly blocking out the sun. So a lot of people will see something, and we're going to be lucky enough to see a total eclipse.
Okay. So you've taught astronomy before. How would you rank this on, would you consider it special, or is it a rare occurrence?
Well, no, it's not very rare. Like I said, you can go chase these things every year or two and find one. In the scheme of things, it's a pretty mundane thing. There's lots more exciting things that happen in astronomy. There's stellar explosions and black holes and a lot more interesting stuff. However, it does give opportunities to the scientists to study the sun a little bit better because the sun is really bright. And so if you're looking at the sun with no filter and with nothing else, it really, the brightness hides out a lot of information, blocks out a lot of information. But when the moon blocks the sun, the scientists can study the atmosphere of the moon a lot better. It's a lot easier. So there are unique opportunities for scientists. And then it's pretty interesting for people just to watch too.
Do you have anything else to add?
So yeah, one more thing, and that is if you're going to be watching this outside, of course you want to wear protection because even if the moon blocks the sun, you're looking at the sun. It's really hard on the eyes. You could burn out your eyes. So what you want to do is use some sort of protective glasses. And if you don't, you can make a simple screen setup where you can watch the eclipse on a screen. And all you do is you take a little card here and make a little pinhole on this. And so if you put the screen back here, okay, the sun's out there, screen's over here, you put the pinhole in between, it will project an image. You can play around with it, and you can focus it or unfocus it, make it a little bit bigger or smaller, but play around with it. You'll see a pretty good image of the sun and the eclipse on this screen.
Good. Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Taggett.
You are welcome.